They knew when he jumped off because when he jumped off, the staircase slung back up and hit the back of the plane. They said they heard a boom. And they were like, oh, what was that? He has never been found. There were tons of rumors, but...
Well, who's the smartest criminal of all time, in our opinion? Your opinion?
What, the smartest?
The smartest criminal of all time, in your opinion?
That I've met? I wonder if it should I met. Okay. Let me read it again. I have as much information as you have. Let me think. Smartest criminal. Should we go with just con man?
Well, he says criminal, so
that could be anything. Yeah, these guys, they don't know how. Like, you got to be specific.
You know, because there are con men that we love, and there's criminals that we love. So maybe I should take it first. I would say, and I want to kind of make it someone famous and not someone that we've met. Because if someone we met, then they're not going to know who they are. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to kind of give a half-ass layout of their story. So smartest criminal, like someone famous wise, I would say, because I've seen a couple of episodes of American Greed where a couple of people I thought were smart that they pulled off a stunt. But famous, I'm going to say, what's the guy's name that flew up in the airplane?
D.B. Cooper?
D.B. Cooper.
That's assuming he didn't die.
True.
Like, you know, but he may, if it would be D.B. Cooper if he actually got away with it. I don't know if it's so much smart as it's just ballsy.
It is ballsy. To get up there with that money after you rob that bank. Right. Is extremely.
And never do it again?
Right. Oh, D.B. Cooper was
That's so sad, bro. How old are you? Oh my God. See, that's you know, they're children, bro. They don't know it.
Well, he in the 60s, 70s?
I know, but everybody knows who D.B. Cooper is. It's huge.
It is huge. D.B. Cooper was a very stylish bank robber. He was one of those, like they call, very courteous. When he robbed the bank, you know, he would walk in a very nice suit, and he'd sit down and say, "Good." Oh, I'm sorry,
but he wasn't a DB. He wasn't in a bank.
When he had the funds on him.
No, I know, but I mean, you were saying bank robber. But he didn't really rob a bank. He robbed the airline.
He robbed the airline? I thought he robbed the bank.
Oh my God! All right, listen, stop.
Right,
listen. Okay. Okay. So back in the 70s, you didn't get searched when you got on a plane, right? They're not patting you down. There's no metal detectors you're walking through. So I want to say it was the late 70s, 76 or 78,
77, I thought.
Yeah, something like that. So he dressed in a suit, smoked cigarettes. You could smoke on planes too, by the way. So
in a section.
Yeah, he went up and got into a plane, was flying over the United States, somewhere in the West, in the Northwest or Midwest, in the Midwest.
Jewel thief.
I can't believe you don't believe this. You don't know this. So what happens is he gets on there and he gets on the plane, and when he ordered a couple of drinks, was smoking a cigarette, and when the stewardess came, they call them flight attendants now. Back then they were stewardesses. I'm calling stewardess.
They were females, but
they were. The stewardess comes and he says to her, he says, he gives her a note and he says, "Don't be nervous." And
my car.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
He gives her a note and it says to tell the pilot that he has a bomb and he's going to blow up the plane. And he shows her the bomb. No, he's got a briefcase. He opens the briefcase
and shows her the bomb.
Sticks of dynamite, like what really, they were like, look, you know, it may have been nothing. Knowing this guy, it probably was nothing, but it definitely wires or the whole thing. I mean, it looked exactly like what you thought a bomb looked like. He was like, boom. She was like, oh, and he said, gave her a piece of paper, and it just said to tell the pilot that I've got a bomb, and that he needs to land at like Dulles, airport, and unload all the plane, everybody on the plane except for the staff.
Right. It's right.
Staff. I said staff. What, the crew? Except for the crew and everybody, but all the passengers can go. And that he wanted It was a weird amount. It was like 190. It was like 200,000 or 201,000. It was a weird, like odd number. Like not $500,000, not whatever. It was reasonable. So it's like 200. I want $200,000. And she was like, okay. She goes, tells the pilot. He lands the plane. He tells, makes an announcement. We're going to be landing here. They don't know why. Like they're not supposed to land there. Like they land there. Okay. They unload everybody. And then it takes an hour or two to get the money. Now, while this is happening, the FBI, they get the money together and they start writing the serial numbers down of all the bills. So there's like 10 FBI agents just writing down serial numbers, writing them down. Right? Like they didn't have copy machines there. Like they had copy machines, but not there. They couldn't do it fast enough. So they're writing them down. They got like half the bills or something like that. And they end up giving him the money. And then they take off. Well, when they take off, so your flight plan is listed on cards. And this is why they believe that D.B. Cooper actually was a pilot, because he gives them cards
to give to
the pilots. It says he wants he wants to land in like Mexico City. And so once he gives them to them, they come back and they go, we don't have enough fuel. We'd have to land and refuel. He's like, nah. Says absolutely not. So then he picks another airport that's still, so if Mexico City's here and it's a straight line, he picks another airport that will be basically is the same line. He's like, okay, then here. Right. So, and by the way, this whole time they've now got like F-14s or F whatever behind them, right? So they're kind of flying around them and flying and not really scaring them, but keeping an eye on them. So at some point, he now knows, once he knows where they're at some point he gives another card to the stewardess and it says, I want you to bring the plane down to this altitude.
Right.
And I want you to, and I forget, he wanted him to do something else. Oh, and slow it down to this speed. And they were like, he slowed it down just enough so that it wouldn't stall, so they could still maintain speed.
Right.
So they did that. And when he realized, okay, I'm now there, he waited and waited and waited. He went in the back. When he asked for the money, he also asked for 2 parachutes, by the way. So he wraps up the money in 1 parachute, supposedly. He may have also kept it.
He had some on him.
Actually, you know what? He didn't. You know what? He kept the money on him.
On him. Yeah.
Right. You're right. Because what he did was the 1 parachute, he cut up the strings, because when they got it back, it was all cut up. He'd used the risers. He'd used them to help tie him around.
Right.
Okay. And then he used the other parachute and he jumped out of the plane. Now, back then, the plane that he happened to be on, it had a rear staircase that opened from the rear, because face it, you can't jump out the side of an airplane like that,
because you'll
it's too fast. You'll hit the wing like where they were. So this happened to have a rear staircase. So he opens it, and the pilot said he remembered exactly, because he said an indicator light went off. He wrote down like where, okay, boom, right here, something's happening. The back staircase went open, and then they heard it when he jumped off. They knew when he jumped off, because they said he stood there for a while. They knew when he jumped off, because when he jumped off, the staircase slung back up and hit the back of the plane. They said they heard a boom. And they were like, oh, what was that? So they figured that's when he jumped off, and it went up and smashed and hit the plane. And that was it. He jumped. He has never been found. There were tons of rumors, but about 10 or 15 years later, I want to say it was probably, you know what? It was like in the mid 80s. A little boy was building sandcastles at the side of a river, and he found like 30 or 40,000 or 50. I don't know the exact amount, but he found a ton of money. Not like a little bit of money. Like it's not that he jumped out with 200,000, let's say, and the kid found like $5,000. The kid found like 40 or 50 grand. Like it was a chunk of money. And so the kid found a bunch of money. I forget exact amount. I could be wrong, but I think it was a good chunk of money. He found them wrapped up, and it was D.B. Cooper's money. Like it had the serial numbers and everything. Oh, never been found.
There's rumors that some of those serial numbers were in circulation. Like some of those bills have been in circulation.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't like now. It wasn't like now where like they could actually track it. Like suddenly you put it in the bank and the federal, when it goes through the Federal Reserve or something, like boom, hey, boom, this is a marked bill. Such, it's not like that.
No.
But
you're right though. You're right. They did bring him money. He didn't rob bank. I don't know what I was thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, he robbed the airline. And yeah, but this is the thing. Like the one thing that like the stewardess said about him, because she was really the only person that had any interaction with him, was same thing you said. Did anything stick out about you? He was extremely polite. They were like, I mean, very nice, very polite. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Don't be scared. It's going to be fine. Let out all the passer. Like, I don't want to hurt him. Very nice, very nice. And then jumped out and disappeared. But here's the thing about that. Now, people, by the way, there was one guy, a guy that died years later, like 30, 40 years later, like 30 some odd years later, that actually told his wife on his deathbed that he was D.B. Cooper.
Yes. This was recent, like
about 10 years ago.
Yeah, 2010.
Something. Oh, no, that's another one. There have been a couple. There have been a few.
Okay.
Yeah, there have been a few. Like, I don't know. I think there's been a couple. They actually believed that it was a pilot, by the way. There was another guy that was a pilot that the FBI had always felt like this is the guy. Like everything met up. He was in the area. He was here. He was there. It's like all these things. They were like, he's the guy that could pull it off. And he ended up getting in trouble for something else. They questioned him. He never admitted that this was who he was. I have nothing. I know what you're talking about. And somehow or another, I think he ended up dying in like a shootout or something. I could be wrong, but something happened where he ended up dying and they thought he may have been D.B. Cooper. They've just never known. So yeah, was he super smart? That he got away with it. He was polite. He had a style, bro.
Yeah, well, but only one incident of crime. I don't. People they question like how long he planned that, or if it was planned at all. Like supposedly his wife or somebody left him.
Had to be planned.
I mean, you would think.
Oh, I know what it was too, by the way. Like one of the guys that got the money that they thought it was, like literally they had talked to his relatives and like they were going to lose, some house was being foreclosed on or a family farm or something. He said, don't worry, I'm going to get the money. And then like a month later, he showed up with like the money.
Wow.
And so they're always like, they've always kind of assumed it was him. Like it really, like a lot of these things, it was circumstantial, but it still really was good.
Right.
You know what else reminds me? This is like DB. My whole thing is like, if he's really a criminal, he would have done it again. It's like the idea that these guys from Escape from Alcatraz, the movie and the real Escape, like everybody's like, did they? They made it. They made it. They drowned. They were all career criminals. Was it amazing what they did and how they got out? That was a brilliant crime. That breakout was brilliant, but they died. They all drowned trying to get through the channel.
Right.
First of all, it's freezing. It's filled with sharks. And the bottom line is this, that those were career criminals that had been arrested on and off and spent their entire lives in and out of prison. They didn't escape in their 40s and they didn't all go get jobs at Walmart and live out the rest of their lives. They didn't do that. They went on. They would have gone on to more crimes, been recaptured, been found out who they were, and gone back to prison.
Suffered, yes.
Right.
Yes.
They drowned. I love the romanticism that they went on and got out and lived the rest of their lives, but that's not what happened. It's just no way. Statistically, 70% recidivism, and you're getting out and you can't even say who you are. Like you have to start over from scratch with nothing. Like stop, bro, stop. Sorry.
All right. That answer your question?
I really felt like this was going to be more you. I'm going to stop talking so much. That's not. I'm just joking.
Exactly. Michael
Francisci. Yeah,
the mob guy that said that politicians are even less trustworthy than the mafia. As a con man, what is your opinion of politicians? Do you find it easier to see through their lies? Interesting.
What do you think? I mean, I've bribed.
My days of dealing with politicians were back when I was in college and school, and like when I helped Ann Richards become governor of Texas. well, yeah, and then she lost her next term to Bush, but that's the only time I've ever met politicians. So, and I'm like a screaming liberal, so I love them. So
I despise them, and I don't see them as trustworthy at all. And plus, I've bribed politicians. I mean, I actually had a Kevin White.
You bribe him, I beg him. So like, please change the law. But go ahead.
Kevin White. I funded this guy's almost his entire campaign to become county. He was a commissioner. No, he was a councilman. Then he became a commissioner. But
yes.
the councilman part, like I helped him become the council. Matter of fact, I funded his first election, and then he tied. So then he came back for more money. So I gave him more money
to break the tie.
Yeah. But he went on and then eventually got. There was an article about how the FBI had come to talk to me.
Right.
And then there was an article about how the FBI was looking into him, and that I said that absolutely I bribed him. Like, they have all the checks, they have everything. They've got all my co-defendants saying, yeah, Cox gave us money to give to him. They have money going to his account that came out of accounts opened in banks in the name of like Brandon Green, Lee Black, David Silver. You know what I'm saying? You've got these.
So you've got the evidence.
It's fraud.
Yes.
So they came and they talked to me. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I bribed that dude. So he then, when the paper called him, he said, Cox is just a jailhouse snitch trying to get out of prison. He's lying. Can you believe that? Absolutely true. Not lying, but true. Everything else is right.
But the fact that he said it on camera with an attitude.
Yeah. Well, I saw it in the paper, read in the paper. Here's what's funny about that is, like, 2 years later, he gets indicted for bribery. He goes to, not on my case, but he goes to trial like a true gangster and loses.
Like a true gangster.
Like an idiot, yeah. And I think he did he get 30 months or did he get, I think he did a couple, 2-3 years. He probably ended up doing a couple, 2-3 years.
So he's a snitch. Now he's the...
He's selling used cars now.
Good for him.
Yeah, worked for the same dealership my ex-wife's husband. He worked there for
that's a good job for a politician, used car salesman. Yeah. All right, it says, was Zach's wife into crime when he met her, or did he introduce her to it?
Nice.